everyone, it's Thomas Jujube, and welcome to the Talking Jujube podcast, a podcast where I talk about the latest episodes in the most recent series. Today, we're looking at pretty much all the latest episodes. There's no big news, there's nothing I need to apologize for, so let's just get right into it with Super Ninja Steel. So, we start off the episode in the classroom where the class of the Rangers are going to be going on a camping trip, and the teacher shows off her golden compass, which is the name of a movie, so copyright strike. But she shows off her compass, she says, oh, this is from my grandmother, all that stuff. And then Victor and Monty come in and be Victor and Monty, and they cause havoc in the classroom because they're shooting a bunch of nets around the room, doing standard Victor and Monty stuff. And then after they clean up, they see the teacher sees her watch is missing, or her compass, and she sees it's in Brody's backpack and immediately assumes that it's Brody who stole it, which I guess is a good assumption, but she said, oh, Brody, I thought highly of you. So if you thought highly of if the teacher thought highly of him, then why would she immediately think Brody stole the compass? I mean, you just saw all this chaos happening, and Victor and Monty had plenty of time to take the compass and put it in there to sabotage Brody because they don't like him. I mean, she just kind of goes off, immediately assumes, oh, Brody, why did you do this? But I don't think we obviously find out, you've seen the episode, we obviously find out it wasn't Brody. So she just immediately assumes it's Brody when she even said, oh, Brody, I thought highly of you. So why would you immediately assume this was Brody? But that's not the point. She asks Brody, did you take this? And he says, no, I didn't take this. And then, she's like, Brody, are you lying to me? And he says, no, I'm not lying. And you kind of see how, bad this actor is, because he doesn't, I don't seem it doesn't feel so realistic. So, I don't know. And then Victor and Monty say, oh, we're going to catch a rhino in the forest, because rhinos normally are in the forests, right? And then when we see the rhino come up, of course, you're like, oh, actually, at first I thought, oh, well, this rhino monster has probably been into the forest or whatnot before, causing this legend or something. I don't know, it's not even a legend, but causing this idea to happen. And then we find out, no, this is his actual first time. So I don't know where this idea about a rhino going in the forest came from. So that's cool. Yeah, sure. And then the monster's power is so dumb because he rolls the dice, or a die. He has not a rubber die. He has an inflatable die that he rolls, and then depending on what the number is, he does that attack. So it's this big monster suit, the cool ranger suits, this rubber die, and he throws it and it just lands there. It's so dumb, and it's so it's funny because it's so dumb. Because it's just this rubber, why do I keep saying rubber? This inflatable die that just lands, and then everyone watches it, and then he goes, oh, I guess I'm doing this. And not only, his first attack, he throws the die, and then I think what the first thing he does is he uses jacks, exploding jacks, so it's oh my gosh, no, a rhino-themed monster with a inflatable die? And jacks and a kettle. He pulls out a kettle too. Oh, you'll never withstand the power of my kettle. So really, we had to use this, and I'm positive this is because of Japanese stock footage, because we have the monster when it grows, and we had the Megazord fight. He has this die, right? And then we have a scene later that looks like Japanese stock footage where he also throws the die. But we didn't need to use those scenes. He only had to die for a couple seconds in Megazord form, or in giant monster form. So we could have just left that out, and then we didn't need to use this scene of him with the inflatable die. So we gave this rhino-themed monster the stupid ability of using an inflatable die. So this monster was just really, really dumb. But then, we go on, And then Victor and Monty, they see the monster, and then they say, oh, look, it's the rhino. And then they say to the teacher, look, we found the rhino. And she's like, oh, show me. And they have to go all the way back to the class to show her. Oh, no, I forgot. She looks at the camera, and then she sees that the compass was knocked into Brody's backpack because of the nets. So then now Brody gets off the hook. He can go to the camping trip, and now Victor and Monty have detention for a week because they broke out and they weren't allowed to. Because, yeah, I forgot to mention, Brody snuck out, and then he got back in time. And then, so the teacher never knew he snuck out, and I guess neither do Victor and Monty, so he's, like, perfectly fine. So the teacher finds out that Brody's innocent, basically. She gave him a punishment for no reason. So then she says, oh, okay, you're free to go on the camping trip. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like, teaching kids, not lie, I guess, because he stuck to what he knew was right, in that he didn't take the compass. He didn't say, oh, okay, I took the compass so he could go on the camping trip. He told the truth, and he did what he knew was right. So that's a great lesson to teach kids. And then the teacher says, oh, no good deed should go unrewarded. And then she gives Brody her compass. And in the beginning of the episode, she even said, oh, this was my grandmother's compass. And then she gives it to a teenager that she just thought even stole this compass. So, like, I know that a teacher wouldn't give me their family heirloom or someone else their, like, this is so unbelievable. And the funniest thing is, she says no act of courage should go unappreciated or unrewarded. And not only was this not really an act of courage, he wasn't really being courageous, he was just telling the truth, right? So he's not being courageous. Not only that, but if you remember last year, or no, 2 years ago in Dino Supercharge, actually no, 3 years ago in Dino Charge, when they were looking for the Purple Ranger, and they were experimenting with, like, they had the Purple Energem, and they were trying to get, like, basically they put Kendall in danger, and had people come and save her. Like, they didn't know it was just like an experiment, and then they touched the Purple Energem, and then they'd see whether or not this is an actual hero or something like that. Correct. And I remember there's one person that said, hey, no good deed should go unappreciated, right? Can I have some cash? And then obviously Kendall's like, no, and the Rangers are kind of like, oh, well, this isn't the person we're looking for. So I find it funny that in the previous season, if we count this like all one big season of Ninja Steel, I find it funny that in the previous season we used this line as a joke of sorts, and now here we're using it as a lesson. So, great writing there. We're gonna use a joke from a last season as the lesson of the day here. So, like, if kids are watching this, now kids are gonna be thinking like, oh, Mom, look, I put the dishes away. I should get some money for it. I should have your golden compass, right, Mom? Right? So, no. so then, I mean, the rest of the episode is just kind of, they beat the monster, that standard stuff. And then we have this weird scene at the end, because this episode, I thought this episode was going to end on a cliffhanger, and I guess it did, but not really, because then we have, let me remember. So what happens is they beat the monster, and then Odious Badana, I think is the Russian person, Odious Badana, and the last, I think her name is Venema, the last galactic ninja, they teleport to Earth, and then they're basically bullying, they're telling the last galactic ninja, Venema, to hand over the medallion, because there's only one medallion left. And you're just gonna give us a medallion, So we're kind of just like, screw it. We're just gonna have the last medallion just be given. We don't need to have the monster appear. So I doubt Venema is gonna do anything, and Wolverine is still alive too. So I doubt these last galactic ninjas will do anything. We're probably gonna forget about them, because we forget about a lot of things in this season. Redbot. Sorry, I had something in my throat. So then Odious has all 4 of the Galactic Ninjas medallions, which, if I remember, they just give them ninja powers. So they didn't really do much of anything, I guess. I think the line they use is they give us our ninja powers. So, okay, so now Odious has 4 coins that give her ninja powers. What does she do? She turns to the Foxabots, or whatever the little grunt robots are called, that are foxes that strangely look like Madame Odious. She uses her magic to combine them into a robot, which, okay, is cool, but it seems kind of strange, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna poof, fuse you all together. And then she grows this monster, or this they call it the Zord, so I'm gonna call it the Zord. They grow this Zord, which is called the Foxatron. They grow it to Megazord size, and now the Rangers are only like, what the actual is this? They thought they were done, right? Now they're like, what is this? Odious goes inside and uses the medallions to create the power of the Foxatron. And I guess with all 4 medallions that use ninja powers, more ninja powers than the Rangers actually are ninjas, it basically gets rid of all their Zords, right? So now they're left on the ground helpless, and I think Odious is about to destroy them when the Foxatron stops and she gets out and questions Venema, what is going on? Why isn't this working? And Venema explains, well, they need to be recharged. that's what they said. It needs to be recharged. So then Odious decides, oh fine, I'll recharge him, and then they disappear. The Rangers are now like, what do we do? Because they don't have Zords, and now Odious has a powerful Zord of her own, and now the Rangers are left helpless. So honestly, they don't feel helpless because we still have I think they still have their Zords. They just don't have their Zord stars. They've never really explained specifically if the Zords are destroyed or the Zord stars are destroyed. But I'm pretty sure their Zord stars aren't destroyed, so I'm sure their Zords are fine. Basically, the point I'm trying to make here is they still have Super Ninja Steel. So couldn't they just make new Zord stars? Like, that's what we did in the 2nd episode of the season. We just made new Zord stars and they got their Super Ninja Steel mode. Couldn't we just make new Zord stars because we still have some leftover Ninja Steel? Like, really? So here's what I think is gonna happen. They're either just gonna flat out do what I just said, make new Zord stars and erase the conflict, which is what I think they should do, or what they're probably gonna do is introduce the Blaze Megazord, because we know that has to come at some point. So I'm sure they're just going to introduce the Blaze Megazord. But the thing is, this is the mid-season finale of Super Ninja Steel, so we won't be coming back to Super Ninja Steel for another probably like 6 months or something. So basically we're going to kill all the tension right now, which there technically is no tension because I don't feel scared for these characters at all. Because again, like I just said, couldn't they just make new Zord stars? So, like, if there was any tension, it would be killed by the time the 6 months are over. So overall, this was just a standard Ninja Steel episode, Super Ninja Steel episode. It was not good. I didn't hate it as much as last week because I absolutely hated the hoverboard episode. But like, I didn't hate this one, but I just thought it was really dumb with the giant inflatable die. The fact we just poof, like Foxatron felt like it came out of nowhere. I didn't feel suspense. It just came out of nowhere. So overall, this is just a really dumb episode because we have an inflatable die. We have a really weird and stupid lesson of the day, and we just have something that came out of nowhere, and we're supposed to feel suspense from this. So no, this was not a good episode. So now, we're going to move on from what was not a good episode to what I thought was a great episode with Looping Ranger versus Paddle Ranger. Yes, we're starting with this one this time. Or going with this one. Never mind. So, obviously, we still continue on from what happened last week, which is that Bundled is still out there in the world with his part of the Looping Collection, and the Looping Rangers need to get it, and the Paddle Rangers need to beat the monster. And we still have this rivalry between Lupin Red and Pattern Ichigo. So Kairi and Keiichiro. So we even see in the beginning Keiichiro's like really angry. He's angry, right? Because he's like, I can't believe this thief beat me. Because he thinks, he's fighting for the right purpose. He's fighting for the law. And the thieves are not. They're against the law. So he's like angry that this person that is against the law beat him who is with the law. So he's like super angry, right? And then we see this attitude gets in the way when they go to fight the Gangler, because I think they could have destroyed the Gangler right then and there. Thankfully they didn't, because then the Lupin Rangers wouldn't be able to get that piece of the collection, and they couldn't save their loved ones. But the Power Rangers didn't destroy the Gangler, because Keiichiro was like, guys, no, we can't destroy the Gangler here and now. We need to wait so that we can lure out the Lupin Rangers, because I need to beat that thief. And then they're like, what are you talking about? And then Bundle uses that distraction and he gets away. So now, everyone's angry. They're like, oh, we had our chance. Keiichiro's like, come on, we could have done it. And he gets slapped by Tsukasa. So I was like, ooh. That was a big slap. So, now he's like, what was that for? And then they have a conversation. They leave, and she says to him, I have it right down here. She says, basically, when they came to the global police, and they were assigned to that special tactical unit for Ganglers, basically, she was like, oh, this is so much fun. Or Keiichiro asked, like, oh, why did you join? And she said, oh, I just kind of wanted to join. I thought it would be fun. And then he says, don't forget the responsibility that comes with the authority of the global police. And then later we also find out his added line to this was, if you have the ability to save people, don't waste it. So basically, Tsukasa reminds Keiichiro of when he said this. So now he's remembering, oh right, I have a duty to protect. I shouldn't be worrying about fighting these thieves when these thieves technically aren't hurting anyone. In a way, they're actually saving people as well. So he realizes, I shouldn't be worrying with these thieves who aren't really doing much. I mean, they're doing a lot, but they're not doing much to hurt people. And he realized I should be worrying less about them and worrying more about the Ganglers that are hurting people. So that was great. I guess I'm just kind of summing up what happens in this episode. But, I mean, this was a really great episode, because we find out, we see him kind of realize, oh, I shouldn't be so hot-headed with these thieves. I should be more focused on the Ganglers, because they're essentially the bigger threat here. And at the end as well, he starts to wonder who is Lupin Red and the Lupin Rangers as well, I guess. So I think we're going to start building up to this reveal, because, I mean, I'm sure at some point the Lupin Rangers and the Powder Rangers will join forces, and, we'll have identities revealed and whatnot. So, but I'm hoping that's a long ways away, because I like this dynamic we have right now. So then, that was just kind of a basic summary of what Keiichiro goes through. I mean, we also see Kairi, Lupin Red, at one point kind of come on, you can't beat me. And then that Keiichiro kind of after that realizes, no, I shouldn't be focusing on this. So that was really cool. So, I mean, again, this is just a great resolve for Lupin Red, kind of realizing, oh, okay, well, I guess, we need to kind of work together, something like that, And Keiichiro realizes, okay, I shouldn't be so focused on these thieves. And then, speaking of him being focused on the Ganglers more, the Ganglers were awesome in this, because we see bundled kind of okay, basically at the beginning, Destra, I forget the main villain's name. The main villain, basically, he says to Destra, the green guy, he says, oh, that was that's quite interesting, you're trying to get these pieces of the collection. Then he's like, oh no, I'm not angry at you, I just want to know, who was your source? Was it Zamigo? And Destra's like, oh yes, it was Zamigo. And then we see Zamigo, this person with a hat, with glasses at the end, or no, he doesn't have glasses, with this emo hair. And then we see at the end, he's sitting at a frosted over table, and he chews ice, which is honestly kind of chilling. You see what I did there? But actually, legit, it was kind of creepy. It was they're really making this character creepy. So that's pretty cool. And then we see later on that Bundle, basically the global police, the Powder Rangers reveal, oh yeah, we can find you, Bundled, wherever you are, because we have cameras, correct? And then Bundle is like, oh, okay, so when he leaves the fight after the Powder Rangers, after he escapes the Powder Rangers, he's like, I need to find Zamigo, I need a new face. So basically they reveal the fact that Ganglers can change their disguises, because that's what their human forms are, they're disguises. So they can change these disguises. I guess the gold safe people, the bosses, they can change their disguises probably. So I'm interested, like, this brings up a lot of topics. Like, now Kogure, people have been speculating if Kogure the butler is a gangler. So if ganglers can change their disguises through like some sort of process, I wonder if Kogure is like manipulating a lot of people by changing his disguises. So that's quite interesting. I'm hoping they do something with this like face swapping, because that seems like a big opportunity to do something big with that. So I hope they don't waste it like the Galactic Ninjas. And then the girl, I don't know her name, the girl that grows people, I think her name, yeah, Goshe, or Gachi, whatever. Goshe, she shows up, and she says, oh, I forget, I don't really know what happened, because it didn't really amount to much, because we never see Bundled with his new face, as you put it. So, that didn't really, he didn't get his new face, he didn't find Zamigo, but he finds Goshe, and she says, oh, I can help you out, but for something more than a new face. I don't really understand what happened there, but later we see Bundled with a new power that Keiichiro accidentally directs into like this building where he holds off the rocks and protects civilians, and again we get him realizing, oh, I need to focus on saving civilians from the ganglers. So I think, honestly, I think all that dialogue between Bundled and Goshe resulted in was just him getting some new powers to help Keiichiro's resolve. That's really all I think that happened there, because he doesn't get a new face. But then, you know, we get our big Megazord fight. Oh, also, I forgot to mention that Goody, the Good Striker, comes to Lupin Red, and he like spins around him, and he just steals the bike from him and gives it to the Powder Rangers. And then, like, when we had the Megazord fight with the Lupin Rangers versus Bundled, because Keiichiro's knocked out, so he can't do anything. They can't form Paddle Kaiser, so we have to use Lupin Kaiser. And then in the Megazord fight, after it's over, the Lupin Rangers are like, Goody, why did you give them the Lupin Collection? Because it's all part of the Lupin Collection. So they're like, why did you give him the part a part of the collection? Because they obviously need all the collection pieces. And then I think Goody, literally, I think he just said, oh, I was feeling Powder and Ichigo, so I wanted to give him that. So, I mean, obviously, that's because we can't have the Lupin Rangers have trigger machines, so we have to give it to the Powder Rangers. That's obviously why they did that, but in the show, it was kind of a weak explanation. Like, oh, I just wanted to give him that. Like, oh, you're so nice, Goody, you wanted to help him out. No act of courage should go unrewarded, right? Right? Come on, Goody, don't go to the Ninja Steel side. Stay with the Powder Ranger or Lupin Ranger side, whichever. Stay as a free agent in this universe. Don't go over there. I'm getting really rambly right now, but I mean, at the end, we wrap it up. You know, it was all good. It was just overall a really great episode. I really enjoyed it. We're doing this nice balance of Powder Ranger and Lupin Ranger. I did feel this was more of a Powder Ranger themed episode, but we still have this nice balance because the Lupin Rangers were still there, and I did feel we kind of developed Kairi a little bit, because he wasn't, now he kind of knows like, oh, well, I can't manipulate his hot-headedness anymore because he's not as hot-headed. But this was still really cool. And then now I'm going to talk spoilers about Zamigo and the next episode. So if you don't want preview spoilers or you don't read magazine scans, get out of here right now. And thank you for watching. So anyway, now let's get spoilery, whatever you want to call that. So, I mean, if you look at the magazine scans, or you saw my old video where I talked about the magazine scans, you know that Zamigo is the ice gangler that froze the Lupin Rangers' loved ones. So, seeing that we're introducing him right now, I'm hoping they know about his presence sooner, so that they can start to, like, you know, kind of get worked up, like, oh, he's, like, right there, right? So I hope we start to do something with him a little more, because now we've introduced him as kind of this free agent, I guess. Not a free agent, but like a free roamer of the ganglers, because I think the boss says something like, Dogorino, that's what his name is. He says something like, oh, he likes to spend a lot of time with the humans, So okay, that I'm hoping we do something more with that. Hopefully maybe he like shows up at the shop or something. That would be kind of cool, because speaking of showing up at the shop, we get Sakuya show up at the shop, and he kind of gives some information, and then we have this thing between him and Umika, right? And it looks like we're gonna do something more with that next week, because next week honestly looks really silly. Not really silly, but it looks like a sillier episode, because we're kind of doing that normal, oh, the Rangers get eaten by the monster, so we have to have someone else save them. So in this case, the Lupin Rangers, Lupin Red, Kairi, and Toma will be eaten by the monster, and who's left to save them? Umika. And where is Umika? Out on a date with Sakuya. According to this preview, but it kind of looks like it's like a dream sequence, so I don't know what's going on there. And then also something interesting is at the end of this preview, we see Umika unmorphed in her thief clothing, I guess, and she pulls like a Black Widow move from like the Avengers, like a scissor kick thing or something, on Sakuya. So I wonder if we're starting to like reveal the Lupin Rangers' identity this way, because she goes in unmorphed, and I mean they have their masks on, but like that probably can't do too much to protect the identities, right? So because the Powder Rangers police have never seen the Lupin Rangers wearing these masks, so this is kind of getting interesting. But I mean honestly, next week looks really kind of silly, like a sillier episode, which I guess is fine, because Lupin Ranger versus Powder Ranger has been kind of serious, which is great. So hopefully next week isn't too silly, but it does look pretty silly. But this week overall was really good for Lupin versus Pato. Now we move on to what was my favorite of these 3 episodes, which was Kamen Rider Build, because this episode was really, really awesome. So in the beginning, obviously we end off with what happened last week, which is Ryuga is about to begin his fight with the Remocon brother, who goes into the Hell Bros state. So now, you know, he's like, oh, well, I'm screwed to the next level. Because he's like, oh, and then we also get more of that juicy continuity, where Sento remembers in the movie War from Winter, where the 2 Kaisers there fused into Bai Kaiser in that movie. Here they're called the Hell Brothers, but in that movie they were called Bai Kaiser. So he also refers to him as like Bai Kaiser. So I mean, obviously I haven't seen that movie yet, and spoilers, but no, that wasn't a spoiler. But it was still actually really cool to see that nice continuity there, because we did that in the first place when the Kaisers first show up. So then we also see how dangerous the Hell Kaiser is, because he's like really beating up Cross Z Charge, which is a good thing because I don't like the suit. I mean, like it was really kind of like dangerous. Like you felt how dangerous this form is, and not to mention it looks really dangerous. So that helps a little bit. And then we also got more of that juicy representative battle backstory, like when Grease and Ryuga are talking, and you know Grease is like, oh, why are you fighting? And Ryuga's like, oh, so I can fight the people that I trust. And Kazumi is like, oh, Sento? That's pretty gross. That was a funny line. And then he's like, well, he's the only one I trust, for something to that level. And basically we just get this nice moment between them in the cafe, and we cut back to the fight, and you know he's still fighting. And then what's the Hell brother says, the Remocon brother, he says to Grease, he says to Ryuga, my bad, he says, oh, if I lose, then they're gonna kill my brother because I have him locked up. And Ryuga's like, what? Really? Because Ryuga's winning this fight. Like, you feel he's gonna win this fight. And then the Hell brother says, oh yeah, if I lose, they're gonna kill him because, you know, we're only weapons or something to that level. And now Ryuga's like, no, I can't. Like, essentially, if he beats Bai Kaiser, he kills the brother. So he's like, no, I can't do this. And he doesn't like lose on purpose, but now he's kind of like, his resolve is kind of weakened, and Bai Kaiser beats him. And now it's left to the last battle between Build and Rogue. So then now everyone's like, Ryuga, what happened? And then you see Remocon walk away, and you see him reunited with his brother, who was perfectly fine. And Ryuga's like, what? And if you remember, guys, I called this actually last week. I said, I think they're gonna cheat or something like that, because I didn't like, Ryuga was so enthusiastic. He's like, oh, I'm gonna win, I'm taking back the spotlight from you, Sento. And he lost, or we knew he was going to lose, and I thought the Sento would cheat, because it seemed kind of weird. We build up Ryuga to be so excited for this fight only to lose it, and they cheated basically. Baikaiser said like, oh, he lied basically, and weakened Ryuga's resolve, thereby winning the fight. So I guess I called it. Like, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But still, like, those dirty cheaters. And then normally Ryuga seems like the kind of person, like, he tightens his fists, and he seems like the kind of person who would just lash out at them. And he goes, oh, okay, that's fine. And then he walks away. And I was just like, did he just keep his temper? Because he seems like the kind of character who would lose his temper over something like this. And he didn't lose his temper over this. So I guess, that was cool. These great representative battles improving the characters. So that was really awesome. And then Sawa appears. Actually, before this, Sawa calls Kazumi, Grease, and says she needs his help with something. And the only thing we see Grease do later is he runs to this one building, and then he puts on the splash driver, and I think he turns the crank like he's tensioning, and then he runs, and that's the last we see of him. So what we can assume is happening is Sawa appears. Sawa goes to the Sato box and says, oh yeah, here's the information. She gives it to Utsumi, who's going to put it in the splash driver for Rogue. And Sawa says to Namba, she says, oh, remember our promise? And then Namba says, oh yes, let's just make sure your information is right. And now she seems kind of reluctant to be helping Namba. But the thing is, we showed she was a Namba child, right? So that means she's like been trained her whole life to assist Namba in like espionage or something like that. So because the Kaiser brothers seem perfectly fine like working for Namba, because they were Namba children, just like Sawa, who is also a Namba child working for, right? Like the Kaiser brothers are Namba children, but they're perfectly fine working for Namba. And Sawa's also a Namba child, but she seems reluctant, and they need to hold a hostage for Sawa to work for Namba. So this is just kind of strange, honestly. I don't really know what's going on here. Obviously, we don't know what this like promise is. Namba's probably holding someone captive that's Sawa's loved one. So I'm just gonna wait to see. Probably it's gonna get revealed next week, and then we move on to the fight between Rogue and Build. And man, oh man, was this fight awesome, because we get this awesome imagery, like where we see Rogue, they're like talking for most of this fight, they're not really fighting. We get this awesome imagery where like Rogue's in the suit, and then it fades away to show just what's his name, Gensaku, and then we cut back to Build in sparkling. Also, while we're on this topic, why didn't he just go straight to Hazard and use Rabbit Rabbit? Like, you had this power. Is like, you can't really say he didn't know it was going to work, because he seemed pretty sure it was going to work, and he seemed pretty excited to use this power. So I'm just nitpicking at this point, because overall, like, that was a really cool scene where Rogue dissolves into Gensaku and Build dissolves into Sento, and they're just like talking to each other, and then in the next cut they just punch each other in the suits. It was just really cool, and it happens again later. And basically, the conversation that's going on here is that Build, Sento, it was Katsuragi, my bad. Sento was Katsuragi. He created these inventions that are being used as weapons of war, and they're basically talking while they're fighting, like, oh, you created this war because you created these weapons of war. Your rider system is a weapon of war. And Gensaku even says, like, Katsuragi knew these would be used as weapons of war, and he kept doing it. And Build, I think Sento like believes this, and then he says, that's true, but I'm not Katsuragi, I'm Sento Kiryu, and I'm going to use these as justice, as weapons of, or not weapons, as items of justice. And then he pulls out the hazard trigger, activates it, and puts it on, and then Gentoku says, despite that, you're still using, actually, while we're talking about the hazard trigger, he even says, like, Sento refuses to believe at first that these were intended to be the tools of war, and Gentoku says, how do you explain the hazard trigger? A power-up, I guess, that causes the user to go crazy and uncontrollable, and I forget specifically what Sento says, but I think that's, like, when he realizes, like, oh, yes, these are weapons of war, but I'm not Katsuragi anymore, I'm Sento, and I'm going to use these to help people. And then he puts on hazard trigger, as I said. Gentoku says, despite that, you're still using Katsuragi's inventions. And Sento pulls out his full bottle that he made. So that's actually really cool, and it's really symbolic, I guess, that when Sento's, his resolve, I guess, that he's a different person, and he's going to use these for a different purpose. He pulls out the full bottle that was his own invention. He's not relying on Katsuragi's inventions anymore. I mean, I guess he is, but not completely anymore. And then we basically, from there, it's a fight scene. And oh my god, this is awesome. Basically, let's just go through this step by step. He uses a full bottle, and I've seen all the reviews. I love the sounds this makes. At first, I was just kind of unsure. Now, I'm all for it. He shakes the bottle, he puts it in the driver, and last week, or yesterday's episode, if you saw, I'm a weirdo in the community of people who watch Men in Spandex, because I talked about what I thought the transformation would be, and it wasn't like I hoped it would be, where it said overflow, and then like the armor overflowed from the mold, but it actually did something really cool that I was not expecting at all, where the forms, the molds, they separate, and we see Hazard just standing there, and it pans to the right, and I was like, what are we doing? The forms, it's to the left, guys, go to the left. And then a little bunny rabbit comes out, and it's just bouncing around. I was like, oh, it's a little bunny, and then it exploded, and then Hazard build connects to all the pieces. He lands, and then we get these awesome, like, spins. There weren't spins, but it's like we look at one part of the form, and it does this like quick like rush, and we move to another part, and another, I can't really explain it. You've seen the episode, you probably know what I'm talking about, but it was really cool. And then we get the transformation tune playing over it, and it was just really awesome, a really awesome debut. And now Rogue's like, what? And then he's like, this is the overflow power that you were using when you were crazy, how are you not going crazy? And Bill says, the power is all mine, basically, I'm not going crazy anymore. So that was a really awesome scene. And then he pulls out the full bottle buster. There's a little kind of weird scene where he puts in a full bottle, uses the gun, he's only using the gun mode, and he uses full bottle break. Then he uses 2 full bottles and uses the 2 match break. Then he puts in 3 full bottles and uses the miracle match break. And that kind of felt like, oh yeah, look guys, we have this toy, we can do this, you should buy the toy. That totally felt like a blatant toy advertisement. But it was actually still, like, again, this fight scene was really awesome. My favorite part was where he turns the handle so he can do the finisher. I forget, I don't know what we call this. Hazard finish, rabbit finish. He uses a finisher. He jumps up in the air, and his leg extends all the way to Rogue. But it doesn't hit Rogue. And Rogue's like, oh, okay, I still have a chance. And he tries to kick the foot. And then Sento just springs back to the foot and like slams into Rogue, and he goes out the other wall. It's such an awesome scene. I was like, ooh, that was brutal. And it was just really awesome. And then Misora and Ryuga are wondering like, wait, is that even legal? And then they say, oh, because the conditions for victory are this transformation of the rider system, the 3, whatever those 3 categories are, basically this didn't fall into any of them, so the fight was supposed to continue outside. So Bill like steps outside, and then Utsumi in the Sato box says, oh guys, I've downloaded, basically Sawa got all the information. So Utsumi says, oh, I've downloaded all the countermeasures into Rogue's Splash Driver. And we see the fog outside because it's night, and you just see Rogue's eyes glow, and then the episode ends. The icing on the cake would have been if they played the transformation, so his eyes glow and you hear the scream from the belt. That would have been awesome, but still, just the eyes alone was an awesome scene. So now I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next week. So I'm gonna talk about next week. If you don't want to hear previews, I'm just gonna talk about the preview. So if you don't want to hear about this preview or next week, leave right now, because again, spoilers. So we see in the preview for next week that Rogue is gonna end up, he's not gonna beat Rabbit Rabbit, but he's gonna end up having an edge over Rabbit Rabbit, because he has the countermeasures for this. He knows how this form will work. So personally, that's gonna leave, I mean, I have to wait and see, but I think that's gonna leave a bad taste in my mouth, because like basically we just have this form debut. We've just established this, hey, this form is stronger than Rogue, and immediately in the next episode we're just gonna get rid of that. He's gonna be able to beat Rabbit Rabbit essentially. So I mean, really, come on. I hope we don't do that completely. Like, I hope they get rid of the countermeasures or something, because we just have Rabbit Rabbit, and then like we're like, hey, look how powerful this form is, and immediately we just get rid of that power because Rogue can stop it. But of course, this week, so essentially we know Rabbit Rabbit and Tank, correct? So there's been no mention of a Tank form, but we know next week we're getting Tank, and it's safe to assume that next week the fight will just continue on. We're not gonna like, okay guys, the fight's over, come back tomorrow for round 2 of this same match, you know what I mean? So what I assume is gonna happen is Sento kept Tank as a secret because of this specific purpose, because he knew, oh, if this Rabbit Rabbit form gets leaked, or if they figure out how to use it, I just pull it out, and now I switch into Tank, and now I can kick Rogue back to tomorrow, because now he doesn't know how to beat this form. So that's what I think is going to happen. But then we also hear from the voiceover, we hear Rogue say, we hear Bloodstock in his suit, so you know, that gravelly voice. We hear him say, "You've outlived your usefulness," and then next we hear Misora say sayonara, which is goodbye in Japanese. So not only are we having the debut of Tank and a battle between Tank and Rogue, but we're doing something with Bloodstock and Misora too, which is gonna be really interesting. And I'm interested to see what's gonna happen. Like, is Bloodstock gonna kidnap Misora? Is like, these two lines could be not connected at all. So I mean, right? Maybe Bloodstock is gonna get rid of Grease, because we don't know where Grease is, and Grease probably won't be getting a power up. So maybe Bloodstock is gonna ambush him and tell him, "You've outlived your usefulness, because there's nothing you can do anymore." And he offs Grease. That would be actually really interesting. Now I'm kind of scared, because I like Kazumi and Mitan when he says that. So I mean, this is just this. I can't say a standard build episode, because this is really, really cool. The debut was awesome. The fight was awesome. We got great backstory. This is just a really, really awesome episode of Build, and I'm looking forward to what's gonna happen next week. So again, we get rid of Ninja Steel and look at Toku this week. It was pretty much a flawless week. There were problems here and there in the different episodes, but if you just look at it overall, it was a flawless week, except for Ninja Steel. And thankfully, as I said, Ninja Steel will be going on hiatus for the next like 6 months or something, so we can go flawless 2 for 2 for the next few weeks. So while we're on the topic of Ninja Steel disappearing, basically what I think I'll be doing, actually, you guys let me know down in the comment section what you'd like me to do in these, where I normally talk about Ninja Steel. If you'd like me to talk about something else, I don't know. I mean, Avengers is coming up. If you want me to talk about that, I can. But what I've been planning to do is I'll start reviewing the Boom Studios comics, because Shattered Grid is coming, and I'm very excited for that. What I'll start doing is I'll review the Shattered Grid comics while Ninja Steel is gone, because I haven't been reviewing those. I'm not going to go through them one by one, but once Shattered Grid comes, I'll start reviewing that monthly in these podcasts. But for the week to week, let me know what you'd like me to talk about in Ninja Steel, and also let me know what you thought of these episodes, whether or not you enjoyed them, hated them, or if you're somewhere in between. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.